Right, now, folks, a year and a month out from the election, and I've already been dragged into a couple of conversations about how to vote. SNP 1 Alpha 2, SNP 1 Green 2, SNP 1 SNP 2. Now, it's not a conversation I want to get into. On the Alpha Party, there's only one poll showing they're going to actually do anything, the rest of them no polling at all. So if you're going to split your vote, I would suggest you split it towards a party with a track record of actually getting elected, but I'm not going to tell you how to vote. But I will quote the wee ginger Doug, Paul Kavanagh, in the TNT show this week. Well, all these discussions are going on. We know what worked the last time, in 2011. We know what worked that time. But I'm not telling you how to vote. But when you go into that polling booth next May, one thing to bear in mind before you tick the box or put your cross in the boxes, not just that we know what worked the last time. The one thing that all these people that are advocating splitting the vote has forgotten, and I'm not saying whether they're right or whether they're wrong. What I will say is, what they all seem to have forgotten is, we have a parliament with a pro-independence majority. All this nonsense about maximise the pro-independence MSPs. Fine, great. It'll just make a Westminster veto on Scottish laws easier. Because we'll be able to get the laws through the Parliament easier before Westminster vetoes them. But the other thing to remember, and it's the elephant in the room that all these people advocating voting this way and voting that way seem to have forgotten, that is that we do have a pro-independence majority Parliament. Westminster doesn't recognise it. Westminster only recognises an SNP majority. So unless there's 69 SNP MSPs along that road in Holyrood, it doesn't matter if we put 110 pro-independence MSPs in there. If the majority of them, 69 of them, the majority in the Parliament, are not SNP, Westminster will not recognise it. We know that to be a fact because we have a pro-independence majority in the Parliament. And when Nicola Sturgeon asked for a Section 30 order, she was told you don't have a majority. Some of the people that voted Green might not have been voting for independence. Some of the people voting SNP might not have been voting for independence. I deal in facts, folks. Fact is, we know how it worked in 2011. And fact is, they don't recognise anything but an SNP majority. So bear that in mind before you go into the polling booth. No, I'm no advocating voting one way or another. That's up to you and your conscience. But we know what works. And we know that they don't recognise anything but an SNP majority. We have a pro-independence majority Parliament at the moment. They don't recognise it. We could put 110 MSPs in there. 67 for the SNP, no enough. So try it then, make up the rest of them for the Greens of the Alpha Party, the ISP. You can make up the rest of that number all you want. If there's not going to be a majority of SNP MPs and MSPs in that Parliament, Westminster is not going to recognise it. That's a fact we already know to be true. And I like to deal in facts where I can. Speculation I'll leave to David. Facts I do myself. Now, as I say, I'm not getting involved in this conversation anymore. As David and I were talking about, cometh the hour, cometh the man. But it's the bit in the middle of the void where you wait in the man coming. That's where all the nonsense starts and people start to forget reality. And the reality is we have a pro-independence majority in that Parliament and it's not recognised. What makes anybody think they're going to recognise an increased number of pro-independence MSPs if there isn't a majority of SNP MSPs? Now, I had to point that out, folks, because in all the discussions I've seen, and other discussions I've had, that one elephant in the room has been left out of that discussion, and that is that we already have a pro-independence majority in our parliament. It's not recognised. It will only be recognised when it is a pro-independence majority, which is SNP. How you go about thinking is the right way to achieve the maximum number or the majority number of SNP MSPs in that parliament, that's up to you. But just don't forget the facts that are in front of our faces. We have a pro-independence majority parliament. It is not recognised because it's not SNP. Simple as that. Now that that elephant in the room has been brought out into the daylight for people to think about in these discussions, because these discussions will go on for the next 12 months. But while you're in these discussions, when the conversation's coming up and you disagree or agree with the people you're talking to, remember that one fact. The one fact is that they only recognise an SNP majority. Because we know that to be true. Because we already have a pro-independence parliament and it's not being recognised. Okay. And as for class action, Davy's still playing by Westminster's rules. Davy's not in the parliament. You need to tell that to Mr. Swinney. Class action. Now on to this bit here with Leslie Riddoch being told there's a big announcement made for the SNP, but you've had April's off that care before. Well, here's the thing, Julie. It's still the only fucking care in town. And it's the only one that the Westminster Parliament will recognise. Well, we'll wait and see what the big announcement is, shall we? And as I say, class action, it's no me you want to tell to stop playing by Westminster rules. I'm not in the Parliament. I'm just a commentator on the news and on current affairs. Right, as I say, folks, we're a year out for the Scottish election. The debate on how to vote is underway. I'm fine with it. Alright? Don't message me and ask how I think you should vote. I'm not playing. I'm just going to say what I already know. And that is we have a pro-independence majority in the Parliament. It's not recognised. So maximising pro-independence MSPs won't make a fucking difference. If the majority, or 69, are no SNP, MSPs, Westminster's no paying attention. They're not interested. Okay? But I'm not telling anybody how to vote. Vote with your conscience. Vote how you think is the right way to vote in your area. But to quote the wee Ginger Doug in the TNT show, when he was being interviewed by John, we know what works. And we also know that they don't recognise a pro-independence parliament. They did recognise a pro-SNP majority parliament, but they don't recognise a pro-independence parliament because we have one of those right now. These two things are undisputable facts. We know it worked the last time, and we know that they don't recognise anything but an SNP majority. Okay, you guys have a nice day. Thanks to anybody who made a contribution to the Food Bank Fund. Thanks to moderators for moderating, and thanks to you guys for tuning in large numbers. But remember, folks, when you're in these debates, because we're going to have a lot of this debate going on, because we're in a void, and when you're in a void, you have all this sort of nonsense. There's no clear vision, no clear route. But when you're having these debates about how you're going to vote, remember, we already have a pro-independence majority parliament, and Westminster doesn't recognise it. Have a nice day.